Hey everyone, I've got some sad news today. Those of you who have been following my channel for the last 6 or so months have likely become familiar with my near constant feline companion, Nacho. Well, I'm sad to report that Nacho was struck and killed by a car. He didn't suffer, he died instantly. I thought it would be nice to share a little bit about his story. It's important to recognize what a great companion he was and that his life had meaning. Nacho came into my life several years ago on a December night. I was out for a late walk around the neighborhood just before Christmas, and as I returned home, I was still a few blocks from my house, and I could hear a cat crying, and he sounded frightened. As I proceeded towards my house in the direction of the sound, he suddenly stepped out in the road directly in my path. He looked lost and bewildered. His eyes were looking right at me. My guess is that someone had dumped him in the area and that he was lost and confused. He was a senior cat, and he had never been domesticated. He was unneutered and had spent his whole life on the street, and yet here he was, asking for help. Sometimes you just instantly know an animal, and I knew that he would be special. I told him to follow me and that I would feed him, and he walked the 2 blocks home with me, and from that day forward he was my near constant companion. In the years that I'd known him, that was the only time I ever heard him meow or cry. He would purr occasionally, and maybe make a bit of a squeak, but he never really felt the need to cry again. He was an old boy who had lived, on the streets for over a dozen years. I think the vet guessed he was maybe 14. So he had been wild all his life before he found a home with me. He had health problems. He had a limp and arthritic legs, but that never slowed him down or altered his kind disposition. In spite of his years as a feral cat, he would never scratch or bite me. But if he ever heard any of the stray cats fighting, he would unfortunately run to break it up. He was not one to avoid a fight if it meant protecting the other cats that he knew in the neighborhood. In fact, we think this is how he came to be in the road and killed. He heard 2 of the stray cats fighting and ran to stop it. Nacho loved to investigate what I was up to. In fact, throughout most of the time I've owned this house and been restoring it, he's always been by my side, just watching me work. Even if I was cooking, he was interested. He was fearless. He didn't run from power tools or loud noises. I guess he just knew he was safe. You've likely seen this in some of my videos where I have to actually physically move him to keep him out of harm's way, especially from flying debris. I mean, with those big eyes of his, I didn't want him ever to get injured or have anything hit his eyes or anything like that. Nacho was also best friends with my other cat, Muggsy. They'd often both sit and watch me work, although Nacho was clearly more interested in seeing her project through, and looked forward to me working outside most of all. Nacho and Muggsy got along more like a pair of dogs than cats, sleeping beside each other, grooming each other, and even sharing my lap after a long day. Nacho was a beautiful soul. His big round eyes, his golden fur, those enormous paws. He was Nacho, my muchacho, and I will miss him. I buried him in the garden beside the garage. The garage, of course, was his favorite place. I hope you enjoy this upcoming photo collage. It's some of the best pictures I've taken of him over the years. And whether you're a dog person or a cat person, give your pet a hug for Nacho. Take care.